Hey, 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 it's your girl Talia, and I'm ready for you to invade my space. Welcome to Talia Space, y'all, where we're going to be talking about everything. You hear me? We're going to laugh, we're going to cry, and most of all, we're going to love on each other, y'all. Let's talk.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Talia. Welcome to Talia Space, y'all, to the Look Good, Be Good, Feel Good podcast. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to go ahead, go get your water, go get your wine, go get your tea, go get your Kool-Aid. Y'all know how it is. Go get your beverage because we gonna talk down tonight, y'all. Okay? Let's talk. As you guys can hear, your girl is a little under the weather. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves with this weather change. Okay, I'm happy that it's cold because I got tired of the hot, but I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves. Go get your vitamins. Go amp up on your vitamin C's and take care of yourself. Okay, your girl been under the weather for a couple days, but today I'm getting past the little worst of it. Okay, but anyways, um, on this episode, I wanted to talk to you guys. I remember a while back, my mom and dad used to be in this business that was for identity theft, and so for a long time, growing up when I was younger, I didn't really understand exactly what it was when it came to identity theft. But you know what identity theft is? It's when your identity has been stolen, someone is portraying to be you. So that's what identity theft is. But I want to talk about what happens when you lose your identity. Not someone else has stolen it, but you have lost it. You have lost who you were. I want to talk about that. Most of all because I have experienced it in my life. Losing your identity can be a dangerous thing. You know what I'm saying? But it happens. It happens to the best of us. Um, for a long time, I'm going to talk about me. I can only talk about me, but for a long time, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who Talia was. I knew who Talia was supposed to be, but I didn't know exactly who I was. You know what I'm saying? And that led me to take different roads that I really wasn't supposed to take. You know what I'm saying? It led me to different directions. It took me on different journeys because I didn't yet figure out who I actually was. And that's caused losing your identity. I remember my brother's wife used to say to me all the time, and I think I talked about this on another one of my episodes, but she used to come to me all the time and she used to say, you need to be you. You need to be Talia. You can't be Lisa. You can't be Tony. You can't be Curtis. You can't be Jerlene. You have to be Talia. And for a while, I hated her because of that. I hated that she would say that to me because I didn't know that I was portraying to be my siblings and my mom. I thought I was just being me. But she would always tell me, every time she saw me, she would tell me, you need to be yourself. You need to find out who Talia is. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am Talia. This what you see is what you get. This is me. I am Talia. So don't tell me to be Talia because I am her. But when I got older, I started to realize that I was actually not being my true self. There was a lot of things that I wanted to be. I wanted to be just like my sister. I wanted to be just like my mom. So I did things the way that they would do things. And I didn't realize it until I got older exactly what she was talking about, you know, just to be yourself. And it was hard. It was hard learning me. It was hard, saying that's not you. That's not who you are. You need to figure out who you are. And the only way that I was able to do that was I had to distance myself. I had to go into isolation and find out who Talia really was because I didn't know. I was in a relationship where um, the guy didn't like my hair. He didn't like the way I wore my clothes. He didn't. Now, mind you, when we met, this is what attracted him to me. But then when we got together, he wanted to change that part of me. And so he wanted me to look a certain way. And because I didn't know who I was growing up, it was easy for me to start changing into the person he wanted me to be. So I changed my hair. I changed the way I talk. I changed the way I dressed because I wanted to satisfy him and not me. But had I known who I was early on, he wouldn't be able to get me to change who I was. He wouldn't be able to um cause me to lose my identity even more because I had already lost it. So he wouldn't have caused me to lose it even more had I had known who I was early on. Um, and it's no fault of anyone. It's just that when you grow up, especially when you grow up um, in a family that's prominent. My mom is a minister. My dad is a minister. My brothers, my sister. When you grow up in that type of family, early on, people already have their projections and their opinions of who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be. Is she going to be a singer? Is she going to be a preacher? Is she going to be this? Is she going to be that? And so, how's she going to talk? How's she going to walk? How's she going to look? How's she going to dress? How's she going to do her hair? So early on, you already have people opinions of you and what they think you should look and dress like and sound like. And so when you're open to that at an early age, now you have all these different identities and perceptions of who you're supposed to be. So you start gravitating to this Talia and this Talia and this Talia and this Talia when in actuality you just want to be yourself. You know, there's only one Talia, but there's so many different opinions of who she's supposed to be. And when she didn't know who she was supposed to be as a child, it started triggering a lot of stuff for her. So I lost my identity at an early age. Okay. And then, like I said, I got into this relationship where um, it got even worse. I started not to recognize the person that I saw in the mirror. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who this girl was. I didn't know who this girl was becoming. I didn't know. I When I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger. I didn't see um, who I was or who I was supposed to be. Like I said, it wasn't until I got grown, real grown, and I moved away. And actually, it wasn't until I got married, not knowing who I was. Okay, let's talk about that. I was in a marriage where my husband was unable to get the best of me because I didn't know what the best of me looked like. I didn't know exactly who I was and what I was doing and what I needed to do. I couldn't give him the best of something that I didn't have. Okay, that I didn't truly have. I couldn't give him that. And so early on, it was hard for me to be my best self to my husband, to my kids, to anyone that was around me because I didn't know who Talia was. I really didn't. And it wasn't until I got married and years later when I got into isolation, it was only me and my husband and my kids. And so I had to figure out who Talia was. I had to figure out then. So my husband has went through a marriage a year or two with someone who didn't even know who she was. So how could I have been a good wife and I didn't even know how to be a wife? I didn't know who I was. I didn't know. Well, let's take it back. I knew how to be a wife because I was taught how to be a wife, but I didn't know how to be Talia. You know what I'm saying? Um, Talia is goofy. She's kind. She's sweethearted. But she's stubborn. Um, she can be mean at times, and it's crazy when you have all these different opinions of who you are, because then you try to be that person. You know what I'm saying? You try to be um, the person that people see, and not the person that you've always was born to be. Okay? Because we always put on this earth for a purpose and a reason. So whenever you um whenever you get into these diff- different relationships, and whenever you get into these different not only marriages but different relationships with friends and stuff, you have to know who you are, because if not, you start gravitating to who they want you to be. You know what I'm saying? When you don't know who you are and you have not stepped foot into your true identity, you will start gravitating to other people. You will start mimicking their ways. You will start looking like them, like your friends. You will pick up their habits. You will pick up their ways. You will pick up their language. And because you have not discovered who you are. And that's very, very easy to do. It's easy to start mimicking other people. You know what I'm saying? Because you have not found out who you were. My son was in my youngest son, well, not my youngest son, because I just, had one 8 months ago, but my next to the youngest. When he was in school, he would come home um, doing things that he would normally do. And then so I started asking his teacher, I'm like, why is he doing this? Why is he making these sounds? Why is he behaving this way? And she said, it's because he's mimicking other children in the class. So he had picked up this behavior, because when we are kids, we don't know who we are. So we start looking at this person and that person. And I want to be like him. When you grow up, well, when you're a child, you say, when I grow up, I want to be like this person. I want to be just like him. I want to be like Mike. But because when you're young, you have not yet stepped foot into your true identity. And so because he had not stepped into his true identity, he started taking on the identity of the other people in his class, and he started bringing that home, and that behavior that he brought home started messing with his home life. Okay? It started interfering with the things that he was normally doing at home. So when you don't understand who you are, when you haven't come into your true identity yet, and you start being around people that are very persuasive, you start mimicking what you are around. And so your behavior begins to change because you don't know who you are yet. So you can't stand firm on, this is me, this is who I am. So I'm not this person, I'm not that person. So you have to get to a place where you start knowing who you are, your true identity. Because if you bring that home, especially if you have a spouse, you bring that home, that behavior home that you're around, these other people that you're around, these friends, these co-workers or whoever, these different people that you're around, you start getting mimicking their behavior when you get home. That's a different language. Your husband or your kids or whoever, they start saying, where you get that from? Where you pick up that? And when you do that, they start realizing that mama is changing, or my wife is changing. She's changing into someone that I don't know. Because when you start hanging around people, not knowing your true identity, when you start hanging around people, you start picking up their ways, especially when you don't know yourself. You start picking up their ways, you start picking up what they do. And so now your behavior is starting to change. And now you're changing the environment and the space inside of your home. They're not recognizing now who you are, because your behavior mimics something outside of your character. But your behavior and your character can only change when you don't know who you are. So I had to isolate. I had to be in isolation in order to get to know my true identity, in order to get to know myself and love who I start seeing in the mirror. And it took a while. It took a long time for me to actually find Talia. It took a while for me to actually begin to know what Talia liked and what she didn't like, and her language, and what she wouldn't take and what she would take, and how she wanted to dress and how she wanted to do her hair. It took a while for me to figure out who the real Talia was. And that was only because somewhere along my journey I had lost my identity. And I hope I'm talking to someone, because I think the reason why our world is in a lot of chaos is because we have a lot of people floating around, not knowing who they are. We have a lot of people who's stealing other people's identities. They are mimicking the behavior of who they're around. And so now you got a lot of people who are the same people. You got a lot of people that look and sound like other people because they have not yet come into their true identity. So they're looking and they're sounding like other people. So you don't know who they are. They could be a Talia, they could be a Pam, they could be a Denise, but all that you're seeing is a whole bunch of other people because they have stolen the identity of somebody else. And so they're mimicking those behaviors of what they saw, of what they've been around. It's crazy that you don't know that you're not getting this true person. You feel like, I'm pretty sure that my friends and my family members thought that this is the real Talia, not knowing that they're picking up on a whole nother character. This is a whole nother person. You don't even know who this Talia is because she has stolen an identity of someone else. And so now she's portraying to be this person, but who you're seeing is Talia. You ever know someone, I know someone, I won't say their name, but you ever know someone who growing up, they had like a whole bunch of different IDs, fake IDs. They had an ID that said their actual name, but it was a whole nother face. It was different faces. Or I'm sorry, it was their name, their face with different names. You ever met someone like that? They had 3-4 different identities in their purse, claiming to be someone that they're not. So you can see me and you can identify by looking at me that it's me, but because of my behavior, because of me not knowing who I am, because of who I've hung around, because of who I've seen on TV, because of all these different people that I've seen and I didn't know who I was, and I start gravitating to what they're doing and who they are, you didn't get the real Talia. You got a version of me, and you may have liked that version, but it wasn't the actual version that you should have encountered. That's why I always tell my children to be yourself. Make sure that when you're around people, when you're around your friends, that you have your own identity, because it's very easy for you to lose your identity while you're with a group of people. If you don't know yourself, it's very easy to lose yourself. It's very easy for someone to come up and say, you look like a singer. You like a preacher. You look like an astronaut. You like a doctor. But what do you think that you should be? What do you see when you look in a mirror? Who do you really see? Do you see a doctor? Because it's easy for somebody to put that on you, and then you go to college. You take up classes to be a doctor when actually the only thing that you ever wanted to do is dance or act. But people will put on a version of you that they feel like you should be. And when you don't know who you are, you will take their words and you will run with it. That's what I said. We're dealing with young people who have not figured out who they are yet. We're dealing with young people who have taken on what other people say they should be, and that's what they're doing. We're dealing with a group of individuals who have not yet tapped into their true identities. All of our young people, like I've always said, our generation is lost, and it's because they have not yet figured out who they're supposed to be. Someone put it in their mind that you're supposed to be a gang member, you're supposed to be a dope dealer. Someone has put this in their mind that have you ever, they tell you all the time, don't say that that child is bad. Stop calling that child bad, because you have already put an identity on that child. You have already placed an identity upon that child before that child have even grown up to be whoever they're supposed to be. That's why they say, don't say that. Don't say that that child is bad. Don't say that that child is this and that. It's because you don't want to already put an identity on them before they even come into who they are. How many times have you placed something upon someone that they have not yet come into the identity, and you have already placed on them that they are bad, that they are confused, like so many different things, that they're depressed, that they have anxiety issues, anger issues. How many identities have you put on someone? Be careful of what you say to people, because people gravitate to that. I remember in school they used to say, man, this girl, she can fight. Man, you better not say nothing to her. She always walk around hard and stuff like that. And because she knew that this is what people were saying about her, that's the way she walked around at all times, with a chip on her shoulder, because it was already presented that this is who she is. She's one of the bad girls. Be careful of the identity that you're placing on your children, that you're placing on whoever is around you, that look up to you, that take your words to heart, because some people don't have anybody else but you to put into them who they're supposed to be. And because of that, they will never come into their true identities as long as you're putting who you think they're supposed to be. When I looked in the mirror, I saw ugly, I saw disappointment, I saw baby mama, I saw stupid. I saw a lot of things when I looked in the mirror. I had already placed so many titles and labels upon me because of what was put into my mindset. These things were said to me. And so I gravitated to those things and started living those things out. But I'm talking to you today. If you haven't found out who you are, get to a place, get into isolation, get into a place with God where He can show you who you are, where He can show you His plans for you. He can show you your future, so you won't have to depend on people to tell you who you are. We depend on people so much to tell us who we are. We need them to give us a pat on the back. We need them to compliment us, and don't know that they are putting things into our spirit that we're not yet ready to receive, because we haven't tapped into who we are yet. Get into a place where you're ready to see who you are, where you're ready to start loving yourself and start loving on yourself. Because if you don't know who you are, the world will never know who you are. I still struggle sometimes with seeing who Talia is, with knowing who Talia is. And I still have to go back to the drawing board and start speaking things into my life that I see over my life, that I see for myself. Because can't nobody be me but me. And I can't be anybody else. And I had to learn that. I can't be my sister. I can't be my mom. I can't be my brothers. I can't be my pastor. I can't be anybody but who I was called to be. But I had to learn that person. I had to start learning Talia. I had to start studying Talia. We have a lot of confused youth out there. A lot of confused adults out there. Because when they were growing up, they were told that you were never going to be nobody. They were told that you a hoe. All you're going to be good for is laying on your back. They was told that these generational curses, that was upon their mom and their dads, that it was going to be upon them. My dad had diabetes, but my mom broke that generational curse off of her children. So we don't identify as diabetics. I don't identify as a baby mama. I identify as a wife. I don't identify as dumb. I identify as intelligent. I don't identify anymore as ugly. I identify as beautiful. What do you see when you see yourself? How do you identify yourself? What do you see? That's what matters. You have to start identifying as yourself. You have to start becoming yourself, becoming one. You have to start saying, God, what do you see when you see me? Because that's who I want to be. I want to be who you see. I want to be who Talia see. Not who everybody else see, but who I see. And for a long time, I didn't know what that was. But I'm so glad that I got into a place where I started loving myself and I started speaking to myself. Every time I looked in the mirror, I started looking at myself and started speaking positivity over me and over my girls. I started talking to my girls and started letting them know at an early age, you have to know who you are. So when you get around a group of people or when you get around your friends, you don't start shifting and changing into who they are. Because it's easy to do. It's easy to conform to who you're around. It's easy to pick up behaviors of who you're around and start mimicking that behavior and start bringing that behavior home. It's easy to do. So I want you guys to stop, breathe, take a minute, take a breath, take a beat, go to that mirror and start looking at who you are and start figuring out what it is that you want to bring to this world, to this earth, because we need you. The earth needs you. The world needs you. But we need the true version of you, not the version that there's 3 or 4 different ones of you. They didn't want the 3 different Talias that I was giving. They only want the one, the real one, the true one. If you ever watched Eminem when he was doing Slim Shady, he said, well, all the real Slim Shadys, please stand up. And there were so many different ones in that video, but there was only one real one. We only need that real version of you because you are the one that's going to make a difference in this world. Once you figure out who you are, nobody can tell you different. Nobody can tell you who you're not. So figure out the real identity. Figure out the real you that you want to bring to this world, that you want to give to this world. And when you figure that out, you will be so successful. You will succeed in everything that you do because it's only one you. There's only one Talia. And that's the best version of me that I can give. And that's the best version of me that I'm going to give to everyone that I come in contact with. I apologize to all the ones who came in contact with the fraudulent me. I apologize to the ones who came in contact with that person and never did get to experience the true me. If you don't know who you are and you have not picked up on who you are and you need help with that, then get with somebody that's able to help you. Find a therapist, find a pastor, find a close friend that can help you figure out who you are. But I'm going to tell y'all, the only person that can figure out who you are is you. You are the only one who can figure that out. I love you guys. I hope you learned something from this podcast. I hope you got something out of this because I'm ready to start seeing real people, real genuine people, and not this version that you guys are putting out. Find the real you and let people come in contact with the real you, not the fraudulent you, not the identity that you have stolen, but the one that you were born with. I love you guys. Tune in on every Monday night at 8 p.m. to the Look Good, Feel Good, and Be Good podcast. Love you guys.